All right, we are going to talk about how AI can integrate not just technically and tactically, but strategically in your business so that it's complementary and it's not going to break. Because everything's changing so quickly and there's so many new things that are coming about, it's very easy to go so far into one direction and that direction get cut off eventually by Google and so on and so forth. And I'll share some experiences with me from my business, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and also just give you just the concepts that you can have that'll make this whole AI revolution over time just kind of blend well with everything that you're doing. All right, so hi, my name is Dean Soto. I'm the founder of ProSulum, and we have virtual systems architects, which are virtual assistants with superpowers. They document everything that you show them, and then they actually do the task, and so you can scale your business automatically over time. Now, in the last video, I talked about how AI will not be completely taking over jobs. Just like the Industrial Revolution, when machines started being able to mass produce things, you still had to have the judgment of humans there. And that's not going to change. It's not going to change anytime soon. However, certain jobs, certain aspects of certain jobs will go away, or they will transform, or they will take on a whole new shape, a whole new color. And after spending time in this new revolution for years now, one thing is certain. You'll get those YouTube videos of the guru who's like, this is the ChatGPT killer. This is the business killer. You could run your business 100% automatically using this new tool. Manus.im is going to do everything for you. ChatGPT agent mode is going to do all the things. And what you'll find is these are people who either do not have an actual business themselves. They might be influencers. They might be solopreneurs. They might be somebody who's just trying to get likes and clicks and follows and things like that. But when you run a business that has hundreds of people behind it and hundreds of clients behind it or more, even if you have a business that has 2 employees, 5 employees, 10 employees, a couple customers, you're going to quickly find that this type of mentality of the new Google Gemini just came out, therefore all of this other stuff is obsolete. When in fact, these are just tools. Just like a new type of hammer that comes out at Home Depot or Lowe's or some hardware store has some new shape that makes it easier to hammer nails with, comes out, doesn't mean that you start building your entire business around that one thing. Okay. Now, you can build aspects of your business, but you don't want to build the whole thing. And I'll give you an example of one of the mistakes that I made when I started. It's not just a mistake. Actually, it's worked out really well. It's not a mistake per se. And in fact, I'll show you the results of all of it. But I'm going to show you kind of going all in on one thing, but then how to then pivot and to make things happen in a more beneficial way. So how long ago was this? This was almost a year ago. Actually, it was a year ago. I had this idea that I'm going to create this workflow in make.com that can create blog posts for my ProSulum blog that are super high value. I can create them 1,000 words, 2,000 words. They would all interlink in the blog, and they would also do external links. And a year ago, with ChatGPT, you could not say, hey, ChatGPT, go create a 2,000 word blog post. And I want you to do all the things that I just explained, because it had a limit. It had an output limit. And you could say, hey, create a 2,000 word blog post with all those things. And it'd say, yes, right. We'll do it right now. And you'd get the output, and it was like 400 words, 500 words. And it didn't have the interlinking and didn't have things like that. And didn't know really about your business, didn't really know things that would make a blog post relevant to your audience. And so I wanted to create this flow, and I created it in make.com. In fact, I'll bring it up in just a second as I'm talking. I created this flow that used a whole mess of different things. It used Google's Search Console tool. It used the GPT API. It used different things to search my blog post to interlink. It's pretty dang cool. It still is cool, and it still works. However, you can see over time, which I'll show you the metrics, you can see over time that Google starts finding out, right? And so even if it's a high value post, there are things that are just that Google sees and goes, yeah, that's probably AI, right? So I'll give this particular example, and let's see if I can pop it up here. I don't have any. Okay, so this is just for one category. And let me see if I can, here, I'll bring myself down here. All right, so what this does is it goes and looks at a spreadsheet. I just have a ton of different keywords that could go through 1,000 of them. And every 1 hour and 31 minutes, it'll grab a random keyword from the spreadsheet and start creating an image. It created, it had an image style rotator, so each image would be different. It would then create the actual topic headings, and then it would start getting external links for the topic, internal links for the topic. And then it would start to create the actual blog post. And then at the end, there would be an editor that would look at everything. And then it would start, if everything went well, then it would move on to the next stage. And then there would be an image prompt that would start creating the image based off of the image style and title of the keyword and all other stuff. And then it would create the actual image. And I have a filter that if it messes up and it puts text on the image, because I didn't want any text on the image, it would then repeat and try over again. And then it would create the final title for the post, create the file name. It would convert the image to a better format. And then WordPress, it would go and create the actual WordPress post. Then it would delete the keyword from the sheet. So I can have 1,000 keywords in there, and it would, these long tail keywords would create the posts. And I'll give you an example. This is a different example real quick. Let me go down here. Any of these, let's just click one of these. So it'd create that image right there. How hiring virtual assistants versus compromising confidentiality. It would create the post in a certain way that I liked it. It creates tables right here. It's linking to an internal page. And these still get traffic. Don't get me wrong. They get traffic. But relying on them, and what I'll talk about this, and then it has like a call to action to do a discovery call with us, and so on and so forth. And so I literally have thousands of these every day. It would do thousands, and then I'd have it post on LinkedIn, and I'd have it do all that other stuff. Well, eventually, since AI becomes the norm, you're going to have to try something new because everyone's doing it. It gets saturated and you start losing market share. Or you start losing the capability of actually getting traffic. So let me go show you how this actually worked. Google Search Console. How well this worked. And search results. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to do the last 16 months and then I'll show you. Make sure there's nothing. All right, so let me. So you can see, right, if you look here, the purple is how many impressions I was getting a day. In May of last year, May of 24, I was getting about 15 impressions a day, 2 clicks. This one's 9 clicks. All of these impressions were for prosulam.com. And a lot of these were for people who either knew about my site just from other people, or maybe they were people who were looking to become a virtual systems architect and work for Prosulam. And yeah, I would get a lot of clicks, but they were for just those 2 things. I started around the same time last year, and you can see it went up from pretty much almost no impressions to, let's say in November, we were getting about 1,000 impressions a day. And the clicks we were starting to get were from actual keywords that we were searching for, or we were going for. And then look at how much the impressions went up to the peak, which was not that long ago, July 7th, 14,900 impressions a day on Google search. And these clicks, the majority of them are clicks for keywords that we're going for. And it worked. It worked well. However, if you can see these impressions, what's starting to happen? Starting to go down, right? However, the cool thing is I've noticed that the clicks are doing pretty well. And they're kind of staying at the same, and I'm getting a lot more click search traffic. So we'll see how this plays out, but generally, because I went all in on this AI thing, I do run the risk of Google saying, "Hey, all your content's AI. We're going to drop you at some point in time." However, I would argue that these are still very valuable pieces of content. And so I ended up switching to using ChatGPT's agent mode to create even better content. This is content that is sourced from a multitude of different things. I could not do this even with my stuff before, and it was relatively quick. Why do I bring this up? Why do I say this? Is because if you jump into one thing, the next big thing, and you don't really know how it's going to play into your overall business, you run the risk of something changing and everything going away. So success through AI is using a multitude of tools. So I don't just use, in fact, let's go back here real quick. I use N8N. I have this self-hosted. I had no idea how to self-host this before. I ended up self-hosting it through ChatGPT helping me to figure out how to do it. ChatGPT actually ran me through the entire process. I got a virtual private server, put it on self-hosted, and it worked. You can get the paid version. It's just like make.com. I think it's like $20 a month or something like that, maybe more. I don't know. But this is a completely free version, and I have, different tools or different workflows that are all working. I have some legal workflows that monitor dockets and things like that. I have a sales customer enrichment workflow with an AI agent, a Zoom call, sales call analyzer that I created that basically, like, what it does is it will, after a sales call happens, it'll give sales tips to your salesperson. And like the customer enrichment one right here, this will go through and it will actually, when somebody signs up for a discovery call, it finds out everything it can about that person. And so is N8N better than make.com? Not necessarily. They're two different tools that do two different things and are good at two different things. If I want actual agentic workflow with an agent that can understand things and can make somewhat make decisions and so on, I'll go with N8N. If I want just easy workflows, sometimes I'll go to make.com. Okay. And this is a long workflow. Look at that. It's just one thing after another. And it could look better, but it doesn't need to be. You'll see all these gurus have these massive, huge, all over the place workflows. And sometimes you don't need that. In fact, like some of my most important workflows are just a small little agent. I'd go into it. I'll go into one of these real quick, just so you can see. Just want to make sure I don't have any sensitive data before I do. Nope. So this one's a pretty long workflow, and how I created this, I'll share, and I'll actually show you guys in a later video. So this is my customer enrichment. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to do a lot of that stuff. I actually used what was in my head. I created kind of like a little skeleton, and then I took this, like parts of this workflow, and I put it into Claude, which is a chat GPT alternative that does different things. And it spat out a JSON code thing that helped me to make this happen. So when somebody goes into Calendly, it'll go to People Data Labs, Apollo.io. It'll search their company website through Appify. This is stuff that I didn't know how to go about doing it. And I popped it into Claude, and it came back with something. And a lot of the times it didn't work right away. And so then I went back to Claude and I said, hey, this is what's wrong. It's not doing X, Y, Z. So then it'd give me another code and another code and another code. And we just keep on reiterating. And now at the end of the day, when this is all done, it spits back when somebody signs up for a discovery call, for a sales call to get a virtual systems architect at Prosulum. They will then, my sales team will get a full-on dossier, like what's the potential person's disc profile? Are they a decision type? Are they an influencer type? Are they a conscientious type? Are they this? How could a VSA help their business? Here are some pain questions. Here are some pleasure questions. Here are some things to help them to see how their business can grow. Here's like basically whatever, making it to where my sales guy can help deliver happiness, because somebody's coming with pain to our business with a pain problem to solve, and we're going to solve it for them, and they're going to be happy for years. I mean, we have customers who've been with us for over 5 years. And so how can we make that happen? How can we deliver that happiness and, convince them that, hey, this is the way to go, where you're going to get a not just a virtual assistant, but somebody who's going to help scale your business. They document and you have an idea in your head, show them the task. They document the entire task into a process document, and then they do it unfailingly. And then you add another person, you just have to show the process document. pretty dang cool. And then you can mix and match AI with your VSA. And what is your VSA good at? How is your virtual systems architect going to collaborate with AI and make things happen even faster? And so, so this is a large workflow that I have, but I have workflows that literally just look like this right here. And it has an agent that is extremely, extremely helpful to my business. Okay. So different tools. If you get anything out of this, the idea is that each tool has its own use. I use N8N for agents, AI agents. I use make.com for just workflows. These guys make decisions. These guys search for things. These guys reason. These guys just do a process, a workflow. Okay. And yes, make.com they are starting to have AI agents. They're not as good yet, but I'm sure they'll be great. Claude helped me create this with code. ChatGPT is not as good at that. I tried. It doesn't work. Grok is not as good at that. I tried. It worked. But Grok has helped me, even though they don't want you necessarily using it for legal stuff, has helped me tremendously with some different legal stuff that has been extremely beneficial to my business and to my family. And Grok is great for real-time research on what people are saying about different things, especially with its ability to search x.com. Perplexity is great for real-time actual data about a company, right? With their Sonar platform, and that can all be used in this thing. But to say, oh, ChatGPT 5 just came out, therefore everything else sucks compared to it. No, everything has a tool. And so from a CEO's standpoint, from a business person's standpoint, you want to always be thinking, how can I use these tools and integrate? It's all about integration. Integrate them with real humans. This is why at Prosulum, we say that a solopreneur with AI is still a solopreneur. You're just on a shinier and faster hamster wheel. Okay. If you want a business that's really going to work with while you're sleeping, you need to start scaling with people. And the way you scale with people is through process documentation. And process documentation is the way that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos have 20 different companies. You think that they're the CEO of one company. No, they're the CEO of multiple companies. Okay. And it's all through process documentation. And then they integrate these new tools, these fancy new things into their business in a variety of ways. And just having that concept alone and that idea alone will allow you to start utilizing AI in ways that allow your business to excel, allow you to, for me, one of my things that I've always wanted to do, it was just so hard, was right here, this active campaign node. I had all these custom fields that are there to gather data about my client, so then I can deliver personalized communication, personalized happiness to them in an automated way. And to do that before was extremely difficult. Now I can have AI look at everything about that person that it can possibly find: industry, birthday, likes and dislikes. What do they talk about on Twitter? What do they talk about on Instagram? What do they talk about on Facebook? What is their political leaning? What's all these different things? And now I know the person. I have so much data about that person that I can deliver joy and happiness and ultimately a solution to their pain. the ability to spend time with their family, the ability to do whatever they want and their business still run, and to help convince them on the sales call that they will get a resolution to that pain. They will get what they want. They will achieve their goal. But that does not come. That comes with all of these different tools, different AIs working together, different tools working together, different virtual systems architects working together, because different salespeople working together, because AI is not the be all end all of this. And so integrating all of that into one, that's how this becomes a very powerful tool for your use. So, all right, AI, ignore the gurus who are just saying this next big thing. I watch those videos all the time because I'm like, oh, this might be a new tool. This might be a new tool, but there's never going to be this tool killer. There's never going to be this, your business is going to be on 100% autopilot because of this tool. It's never going to happen. Ever. It's never going to happen like that. It's not. But it'll come dang close. The way it will happen is if you have somebody, a human in the middle, human at the end, and they're making the ultimate judgment, but you're making their job and their life 1,000 times easier and your business 1,000 times more scalable. So this is Dean Soto. If you want to check out Prosulum, go to prosulum.com, prosulum.com. Links are also in the description. If you want to hop on a call with me or my team, go to www.prosulum.com/schedule. Links are also in the description as well. All right. And I will see you in the next video.